Hello, welcome back to my channel. Here is Jess, and today we're gonna keep going with the lettering alphabets. In the video today, we're gonna learn how to draw a sans serif alphabet, each letter, each one of the 26 letters. And again, I'm using line paper so that I can show you the guides so that you have a better understanding of some of the things that I say. In a fine liner, I'm using a 0.4. You can use a smaller or larger pen. Just keep in mind that your lines you have to adapt, because I have really narrow lines. The spacing is not really great, so this pen will end up being perfect for this. But if you wanna create large letters, you're gonna have to create larger guides and probably use a larger pen. I do advise you to get a fine liner. The best tools for drawing and for inking or outlining, and I really think that you can do so much with just one fine liner, so keep that in mind. So let's get started, because we have 26 letters to get through before this video ends. Okay, let's review the sans serif alphabet. First of all, each letter has a consistent weight throughout the whole letter, and they don't have serifs. That's the definition of sans serif, without serifs. So we also call them block letters, because since they don't have the serifs, it's quite easy to draw a box around each letter so that you have it very well defined. So block letters. Let's start with the A, and I usually draw the A starting with the diagonals, and then I make the right diagonal, I'm sorry, and I just replicate the weights like that. I close the endings and draw the crossbar. And the crossbar is really at the bottom. Usually the crossbar in the A, if you stop to notice, most of the basic sans serif fonts, they don't have the crossbar much on the middle or up on the letter. They usually down. That's a characteristic, a optical factor that helps our eyes to see the letter in a more pleasant way. For the B, we draw the two vertical lines to create the stem, and we can kind of eyeball where we want the middle bow, the top and the bottom bow to be, and then we draw it like this. You see that these two overlap in here, and usually the bottom bow, it's just a little bit wider than the top bow. That's another thing that you should pay attention to. And then you just fill it. As I said, the sans serif alphabet has this consistency to each letter. I'm probably not gonna be that consistent here because I'm going quite fast, just so that I can explain to you the basics, but you can take your time and start in pencil to refine your letter. For the C, I start with the basic shape of the C, and since I'm filling those letters in the end, I can go and draw as much lines as I want if I want to correct them. So it's not gonna be a problem for me, because I'm gonna just fill that out in the end, and nobody's ever gonna know that I made a mistake in the middle. That's the C. For the D, we draw the basic letter and then we can add the weight. And you can make these letters as thick or as thin as you want. I'm making it a little bit thick so that we can give a body to the letter and see them better. The E, notice that I'm gonna create the middle bar a little bit above the middle, and it's a little bit shorter than the top and bottom bars. That's another optical characteristic that you can notice in most fonts. And the same we can apply in creating the F. Just the middle bar, it's a little bit below the middle of my guide. So they're not perfectly aligned. And if you really up the size of a sans serif font and look at those details, you're gonna notice that this really happens. Let's go to the G, and you start that almost like in C, and you just come up for this arm of the G, and then you can start adding the proper weight and correct any mistake that you made in the middle of the process. You can also fill the letter completely without caps. I kind of like this sketch look that I went for on my last video when I did the serif alphabet, so I'm keeping it here, and it allows me to go faster when drawing these letters. The H, it's a quite easy letter to draw, just 2 vertical bars and a crossbar a little bit above the middle. Okay, and the I, just a vertical line with the correct weight. Some people put like some small strokes on the top and on the bottom of the I. I don't actually like that, so I'm gonna just leave it like this. For the J, draw the basic form, and you can perfect that a little bit, and you can just add the weight. And I've drew my this little part here quite up. Some people like to just leave it down here, and I like it like this, so I think it gives a little more balance to the bottom. And I just draw a big, like almost middle U here. For the K, we start with the vertical stroke, then we have this diagonal that goes up, and then we have this diagonal that comes down. And notice that it's not this bottom, this diagonal that's in the bottom, it's not glued to the vertical part of the K. It can be, I mean, you drawing your letter, but I like it like this. I like this style better. The L is just a set of 2 perfectly straight strokes, one vertical and a shorter one horizontal. And then we come to the M. The M, I do like this, so we have the beginning and the end of the letter. Now I just make a little cross in here, okay, so that I can put the weight of the letter in the middle too. And when I fill it, you're gonna see how it actually works. See? For the N, I do basically the same. I start with the beginning of the letter, the ending of the letter, and I'm doing the N a little bit wider than it should be so that you can see better how I created the beginning and the ending. And then I just connect the points to create the final letter. That's the N. The O, it's at the same time the easier and the hardest because it's just two circles, but it's kind of hard to draw circles, especially if you're not used to practice it. You're gonna have a little hard time getting it to look like a circle, but you're gonna get there. And then you just fill the letter. Sans serifs are easier than serifs to draw because you don't have to worry about where to put weight, where to not put weight, and where to put the serifs and how the serifs should look like. Just flow with the letter. Okay, now let's go to the P. And the P, we can get some experience from our B. However, the bow of the P goes a little bit lower than the first bow of the B went. That's just for optic sake because the B does have another bow to balance it, but the P doesn't, so it has to be a little bit bigger. The Q, it's an O with a little stroke to cut it. And some people don't put this inside part, just like this bottom part, but I like to give it this style with the stroke crossing the letter. Now for the R. The R is basically a P with a leg, so just think of the R as a P with a leg. It's a great way to think of the R. And then you just draw the leg since you drew the P. So here we have it. After the R, we have the S, which is a tricky letter. As I said on the sans serif video, I'm gonna repeat it here. S is a hard letter to draw, and I have two in my name. I like to repeat that because that was one of the things that frustrated me a lot when learning to letter, because I wanted to letter my name and it was really hard with two S's and a J in it. So yeah. Okay, this is how I learned to draw the S in a easier way than we would think of, like drawing the S and then trying to fix the weight. Just start with a curve on the top and a curve on the bottom, almost the same, like you reflected it. So start with those two, and then your weight should be about like this. And now we can just connect these lines in here and fix the weight. Like this one, it's a little bit thinner than it should be, but since we're gonna fill it out in the end, we can cross as many lines as we want, and we got it S. T is fairly easy, just horizontal, vertical, and you're basically done. I would advise you to do that in pencil first. I'm correcting a lot of things on the go, and it kind of works because I've been doing that for a long time. But if you're just beginning, doing that in pencil and after you go in with your fine liner or your pen, it's a great tip. For the U, I start with the bottom curve, then assign the vertical lines to construct this weighted part and fill in the letter. For the V is basically an A without a crossbar and flipped on the horizontal axis. So you start with the diagonal, fix the weight if you made a mistake like I did, and then you can fill it in. That's your V. W, my W is not gonna fit in here because it's a quite wide letter, so I'm gonna go to the next section. So for the W, I like to start, I always think of the W like a double V, so I go past this middle line and I kind of reflect that in here, and then I can just start to add the weight in here, then here, and finally here. Now you close it, the endings, and you fill the letter. Notice that the W is not a flipped M, not at all. The M, the lines are vertical, completely vertical, but the W has these diagonal looking lines. So keep that in mind. For the X, I just do diagonals. Here's my first diagonal, and then I estimate basically where I'm gonna start and ending, and I create my other diagonal. And there we have it. For the Y, I just start with the V shape. Yeah? You have a top V shape, and then we have this vertical line. So I'm gonna first add my weight here. So I have a template for where my vertical line should be, and I can finish my Y. And as for the Z, I start with the diagonal, and then I just add the proper horizontal lines with the correct weights. So there you have it. And now you have a sans serif alphabet all planned out for you to use in your letterings. Pay attention to the optical factors that I showed you for your letters, and you can tweak them. Like for the M, you can end it with a point on the bottom guide. It's gonna make a different M for you. For the J, you can end it way before what I did here. You can tweak this crossing stroke on the Q. You can do basically so much in here to make it your own. You can make thinner letters or thick letters. It's all up to you. Well, if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, comment below, and show me your work on social media. Follow me and tag me on your pictures. I see you next time. Bye.